Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to do something a little different, and we're going to do a dive into the story of the Annabelle doll, as well as the recent tragedy surrounding it. Is this doll truly even haunted, or is it all just legend? The story about Annabelle is going to be about the real haunted doll, behind the movies, and the tragic death of the paranormal investigator Dan Rivera while on her tour. We'll explore the full story and the mysteries and reality behind these headlines. So, what is the real Annabelle doll? The real Annabelle doll is not the porcelain nightmare you see in the movies, but is actually just a Raggedy Ann doll. In the early 1970s, a nursing student named Donna in Hartford, Connecticut, received the doll as a birthday gift from her mother. Donna and her roommate Angie began noticing small, strange occurrences. The doll would appear in different rooms when no one had moved it. At first, these things were dismissed, thinking that one or the other were playing tricks. But the incident escalated. The doll would be discovered in dramatically different positions. Sometimes it was even kneeling on a chair, even though it couldn't possibly hold this position on its own. They began finding pieces of parchment paper around the house, which they didn't even keep, with handwritten messages like "Help us" or "Help Lou," referencing a friend who often visited the home. The final straw had come when Lou reported waking up from a nap, unable to move, with Annabelle staring at him from his chest. Soon after, Lou claimed the doll slashed his chest, leaving bloody claw marks that healed in just 2 days. Terrified, Donna contacted a medium who told the doll was inhabited by the spirit of a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins, who supposedly died on the property long ago. The roommate agreed to let her stay, but they only seemed to empower the phenomena. At that point, they called in Ed and Lorraine Warren, prominent paranormal investigators at the time. The Warrens determined that the doll was not possessed by a little girl at all, but was being manipulated by a demonic entity pretending to be a child to gain their trust and eventually possess a human host. The Warrens took the doll, which allegedly continued to cause car troubles on their ride home until Ed sprinkled it with holy water. They eventually locked it in their occult museum inside of a glass case marked with a clear sign, warning, positively do not open. According to the Warrens' accounts, a priest once mocked the doll in the museum, banged on its glass, and was thrown off of his motorcycle shortly afterward. Visitors have blamed faintly accidents and even deaths on Annabelle after visiting her. Whether you believe in the stories or not, her legend has only grown with each retelling. Annabelle's notoriety really went mainstream thanks to James Wan's 2013 film The Conjuring. The movie version turned her into a cracked porcelain doll, a much creepier visual than the Raggedy Ann that she actually was, and built her into one of the most recognizable horror icons of the last decade. The film took creative liberties, but the fascination with the idea of cursed doll persisted, and fueled even more visits to the real Annabelle and the Warrens Museum. In 2025, the New England Society for Psychic Research, or NESPR, the group founded by the Warrens, decided to take Annabelle and other artifacts on tour under the name Devils on the Run. It was meant to let the public see the items up close while maintaining strict safety protocols. Handlers had to wear gloves, prayers of protection were said at every stop, and nobody was allowed to touch Annabelle directly. The tour visited several cities, drawing sold-out crowds, and some people came out of fascination, others came for pure skepticism, and some simply because they wanted to test their courage. Rumors flared early this year that Annabelle had escaped after a poorly worded social media post, but NESPR clarified immediately that the doll was secure and always under their supervision. So who was Dan Rivera? Dan Rivera was a central figure in this story. He was more than just a tour guide. He was a respected investigator with decades of experience in the field. Rivera was a decorated U.S. Army veteran, a father of 4 children, and deeply dedicated to the paranormal community. He had appeared on television shows such as Most Haunted Places and Netflix's 28 Days Haunted. Friends and colleagues had described him as calm, professional, and deeply respectful of the power these objects represented and possessed. To Dan, the tour wasn't about sensationalism, it was about education, showing people how dangerous and real these forces can be, and about honoring the work of the Warrens. He was known for his meticulous adherence to ritual and safety procedures. He never touched Annabelle without gloves. He recited the protection prayers before and after, and he took the warnings extremely seriously. On July 13th, 2025, Dan Rivera completed a 3-day event in Gettysburg at the historic Soldiers National Orphanage. By all accounts, the event was a success. But later that night, Rivera was found unresponsive in his hotel room. Emergency responders were called and performed CPR, but they could not revive him. He was pronounced dead at the age of 54. Police reported no signs of foul play, and his death was ruled as natural causes pending further examinations. Now, it is worth noting that at 54, Dan was at an age when sudden cardiac events aren't uncommon, and the stress of constant travel and long days could have been contributing factors. However, the timing just after spending the day with Annabelle has fueled a lot of speculation and eerie headlines ever since this incident. News of his passing quickly went viral, with many wondering if Annabelle had somehow claimed another victim. Paranormal investigator Zach Baggins, who once investigated the doll, described feeling an overwhelmingly dark energy from her, but stopped short of saying she was responsible for Dan's passing. Jason Hawes from Ghost Hunters publicly criticized those suggesting the doll killed him, calling it disrespectful to the Rivera's family and memory. Many skeptics and even some in the paranormal community pointed out that Rivera had a known heart condition and that attributed to his passing. To say that the doll had something to do with it is nothing more than a morbid story. Friends and family of Rivera spoke out as well, asking people not to trivialize his death with rumors, but to remember him as a loving father and a soldier and a passionate investigator. Despite this tragedy, NESPR has announced that the tour will continue, both to honor Dan's memory and to continue the mission he believed in, which is educating the public about the dangers of the paranormal and keeping the Warrens' legacies alive. Dan's family has asked for privacy, but expresses gratitude for the outpouring of support from the community. Now, whether you believe that the doll is haunted or not, Dan's story forces us to ask if this is really just a legend, or are they warnings we ignore at our own peril? Was his death a tragic coincidence, or was there something darker going on? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you guys believe in these types of things? Do you think that this is just a tragic accident, or something more sinister? My prayers go out to Dan's family, and I'm very sorry to hear about this tragedy. I do appreciate you guys' time for checking out the video. Don't forget to comment, like, share this video, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.